Adversity, bring it. The struggle, I welcome it. Snooze on life, never there. I am Dave Regina, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on. Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 201. As always, I'm in the booth with a new three. We have Claudio, the voice, Valenzuela. We have Apollo, twin, Story. And I am Dave, the body, Regina. Apollo Story is a dynamic entrepreneur and former NYPD officer with a rich background in leadership, public service, and business. Growing up in North Babylon, Long Island, Apollo excelled in both academics and athletics. His parents, both retired from the NYPD, inspired his own career in law enforcement, and he joined the force at 22. During his 14-year tenure with the NYPD, Apollo rapidly rose through the ranks, being promoted to sergeant after 6 years and lieutenant after 8. Driven by a passion for public service, he earned a merit-based scholarship to Harvard's John F. Kennedy School of Government, where he earned a master's in public administration in 2018. He continued his education at Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management, receiving a master's in business administration in 2020. In January 2022, Apollo launched The Journey, a business dedicated to helping others navigate personal and professional growth. After vesting out of the NYPD in November 2022, he shifted his focus entirely to entrepreneurship. A proud family man, Apollo has been married to his wife, Larissa, for 6 years, and they have 3 children, Adonis, Maverick, and Maya. Apollo, welcome to the podcast, my brother.
Happy to be here.
Now, I struggle saying that, the body, because I'm looking at you, my brother, and first off, I just want to welcome you to the podcast. But I want to start with, I'm looking at your stature, right? You're a man of great stature. I called you twin, but you, before we hit record, you said to me, all right, now we got to do a spinoff of Arnold and Danny DeVito. So Absolutely. Are you referring to me as Danny DeVito?
No, I'm just saying that they have the movie Twins, so we could do something in that realm, but I'd never call you Danny.
Very funny. But like I said, man, just physically, how tall are you?
6'3".
6'3". How much you weigh?
245.
245. Look like an NFL linebacker.
I tried to make it, but I didn't. But,
Talk to me about your routine and what it looks like a little bit.
Yeah, so I train 5 days a week. Typically, I do a push-pull legs split. I compete in bodybuilding, men's physique, and so taking a little break now because I had hip surgery this past July, so I'm still recovering from that. But right now, my routine looks like training 5 days a week. I do about 4 days of cardio, 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like.
Okay. I see you got the whoop on.
Absolutely.
Are you an avid whooper?
I'm an avid whooper. So when I was in arguably the best shape of my life in 2021, I lived and died by this thing. And so I would always aim to achieve, a strain of 12 per day. And then obviously I was thinking about ways in which I could optimize my sleep and my performance. And so just getting the metrics from it, seeing how different things affect my recovery was really crucial. One of the biggest things I noticed and that I tell people all the time is like when you eat too close to bedtime, your digestion slows down. You can't get into REM sleep as fast. So I noticed when I eat a minimum of 2 hours before going to bed, my recovery is much like 5-10% higher. Yeah.
So I struggle a little bit with the recovery. You saw I was in Dominican Republic not too long ago, and the first day that I got there, my recovery shot up in the 90s. I mean, it was incredible. But typically, I'm really anywhere between like 40 and 60 of a recovery, and I don't really know why. I know I train hard. And I average probably that 12 to 13 and a half strain per day.
Yeah.
I definitely do chase the strain. I get on that assault bike pretty much daily. But today, man, I woke up, and this is day 2 now. I have a 1% recovery. And, I'm definitely battling something. Took a little Z-Pack so I wouldn't be contagious for my brothers here.
Yeah.
But it in the past, I struggled with wanting to know the data. and I would wake up feeling the way that I did, and I would immediately go to the gym thinking that like that was beneficial to me.
Right.
And now, all I want to do is kind of rest and get that recovery up. Do you find that you're a little bit more mindful now that you have that thing on?
Absolutely. And so I'd say that data can be useful because it's just used as a tool, right? You're not going to let this thing actually run your life. And so, for example, it's good because you can trial test things to see how they affect your recovery. You can monitor your strain so you know you're getting in better shape, right? But it's also bad because say you go to sleep and you wake up and you feel fine. All of a sudden you look at your Whoop and it says you're in the red. Now mentally you're like, damn, did I not recover? Did I sleep wrong? Did I do something bad? Should I go to the gym right now? Or should I rest, right? So it kind of has a negative effect as well, right? So I just say be mindful, like use the data if it's beneficial to you.
Right.
And sometimes, even if you're in the red but you feel good, go crush it, right? There's no reason why it should prevent you from, once again, engaging in health and wellness. I say just use it as a tool.
Right.
That's
a great point.
Yeah.
But even for me, what I noticed last night, like it said that I had a 18% sleep score, right? And that basically my body woke up at 11:30, which it did. So I remember sleeping from 8:30 to 11:30, and then I could not sleep kind of all night. Yeah. But I was still like in and out, fading in and out. But I think because of me moving and shifting, there's got to be some level of error on this thing. And I know I got more sleep, but it only read till like 11:30 p.m., which is tough. But I do think that if you're looking at it like a tool and using it as an asset to you, but not putting it as your end all be all.
Correct.
I think that's the way to go.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And once again, there is some level of error to any electronic device, right? It's reading your circadian rhythm, your heartbeat, through a certain algorithm. Right. It's always going to be off by a few percent.
Yep. So you grew up in North Babylon, Long Island.
Yes.
I despise driving to Long Island, my brother.
There's always so much traffic.
But it's crazy. But people from Long Island will say, no, it's Westchester traffic.
Yeah.
Shout out to my girlfriend, Katie, because she always tells me that. No, it's the Westchester traffic. I'm like, no, it's not. It's Long Island.
What's funny? When my wife and I were considering moving, we were thinking about Long Island. We were thinking about Westchester. And so she works in the North Bronx. Okay. The second you clear the Bronx, there's no traffic in Westchester. None. Like even at rush hour, you're still moving.
Right.
But from the city all the way to Long Island, you can go to Suffolk. I mean, you're jammed. Yeah, it'll take you 2.5 hours during rush hour to get into just Nassau County sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So I'd argue the traffic is much worse.
I respect that, my brother. Thank you. I hope my girlfriend tunes into this episode. But how did your upbringing shape your drive and work ethic? You are African-American and Puerto Rican? Is
Correct.
that accurate?
Yes.
So talk to me about
I was born in Puerto Rico.
Born in Puerto Rico. Where in Puerto Rico?
Aguadilla.
Aguadilla. Wow. So
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with Puerto Rico. My roommate in college, Glenn Rodriguez, he introduced me to the wonderful state of Puerto Rico, right?
Commonwealth.
Absolutely. And I've been going pretty much ever since, but he was from Ponce.
Ponce, okay.
Yeah. So it gave me the best tour, and I really fell in love with Puerto Rico. So shout out to Puerto Rico. But talk to me a little bit about your drive and work ethic and growing up in the environment that you grew up in.
Yeah, so I'd say that growing up, I come from a family of law enforcement. My mom's a retired detective. My father's a retired police officer. And so I had a pretty strict household. My dad, extremely strict, but once again, love him nonetheless. Instilled a lot of values in me, a lot of discipline, always had a bunch of chores to do. I was that cool kid in high school that had a curfew, right? And so, for example, even when I went to college, I went to Nassau Community College for the first 2 years, right? I was the only, and mind you, I'm 18 years old, I'm on the football team, I have a car, things like that. I still had a curfew. Right? Like my dad was like, as long as you're living under this roof, you're going to be home by 2 a.m. 2 a.m. The clubs don't close till 4 and I'm 18. Right? So literally I'd be the one that had to, leave at 1:30 to get home by 2 o'clock. Because if I didn't, I would be on punishment at 18 years old and I'm in college, So that's the kind of upbringing I had. But I'd say that his discipline and his values, right, they definitely shaped the way that I am today, because reality is without that foundation, I feel like I would have been a little bit more all over the place. I noticed that a lot of people that don't have that drive to succeed or that work ethic tend to have upbringings that were just a little bit more loose.
Right.
If you will.
Yeah. No, it's something I'm conscious of now, even with my daughter, and even like the whole like sleeping out thing. like I've seen too many documentaries and scary things, and I'm kind of a believer in that old school mentality, and maybe not as rigid. But even from just discussing with a couple of my friends, I would think that I'm a little bit more rigid as a parent when it comes to that stuff, and also like my daughter's on a very strict routine with me, and she's 4 years old. Everything is timed, and she knows that she's getting in her bath, and then we're getting in bed. We're gonna read the Bible for a couple pages. She can watch TV for a couple minutes, and then we're out. But yeah, I like that. Did they instill a level of like, I guess the fitness side of things while you were young? I mean, what did they look like? You didn't just come out like this.
No, correct. So my father, I'm like a spitting image of my dad. So my father played football. He also lifted weights. I have this one story. I tell it all the time. But my dad was in the NYPD, in the early 80s. And, he worked midnights and he would be lifting weights. The thing is, a lot of the bosses, they'd be sleeping on the midnights, right? That's when he's at work. That's when he can lift weights. So one time they cut the power off on him. Right, so he couldn't get into the gym. There's no lights, right? So what did he do? He went out, he bought candles, right? He's in the gym banging the weights. Like, he didn't let that stop him, you know what I mean? And so I just think that that right there is an example of, problem solving. It's an example of never giving up. It's an example of when something's a part of your routine, you ensure you get it done no matter what. And so even when having stories like that he used to tell me, he taught me how to train when I was 11 and 12. He built a garage. He built a gym in our garage that we had at home, listening to the Rocky soundtrack. So my name's Apollo. I was named after Apollo Creed. So this is what I grew up training to. And yeah, I mean, it definitely shaped, my mentality towards health and wellness now, because once again, when you have that drive and that passion like he did, it just rubbed off on me. Like I grew up around it.
Yeah. You can't be a pipsqueak with the name Apollo.
Nah,
you really can't. They set you up for success pretty early.
If my name wasn't Apollo, it would have been Rambo.
Wow. But that would have fit you too.
But I prefer Apollo.
Yeah, I like that. So both your parents, as you mentioned, retired from the NYPD.
Yeah.
Was law enforcement always a path that you saw for yourself, or did it just kind of force its way into your life? Because coming from a family of law enforcement, even myself, like I got a bunch of family members that are in law enforcement, and I took every test and almost went that route myself, but then just came up with a better opportunity at that time with Westchester County and ended up not going that path. But I could see how you almost get like forced into it, not in a bad way, but just as a sense of security. So what was that like for you?
So I'll be honest with you. When I was in college, I thought about going into broadcasting. Like, I wanted to be an anchor. So I did an internship with Fox Sports in Albany, and I didn't really like it too much. And so I'd say that law enforcement was like a natural progression for me, right? It's what I grew up around. I really, my father, I look up to him, and my mother, and just the stories he used to tell me. So I kind of always saw myself in a position like that, like going into law enforcement. And then I played football in college, but once, that didn't pan out in terms of going professional, I think law enforcement was kind of like a natural next step for me. You know what I mean? Then my mother, she was really like, they both did over 20 years. My mother was really like, oh man, I just paid for you to go to college and all these good things. Like, can't you do something else? And I told her, I remember I was literally 22 at the time. I said, Mom, listen, I'm going to show you that you can go into law enforcement and that I'm going to do more than you and Dad did, but not in a way that's like, oh, I'm superseding you, but in a way that like one generation should do better than the next. Right? My mom was a detective. My father was a police officer. They're both equal ranks, right? The first level supervisor is a sergeant. The next level up is a lieutenant, right? So it's like rising in rank is just, once again, you have more ability, more formal power within the department, right? And that's what I did.
Yeah, you joined at 22, quickly moved up the ranks to sergeant and then lieutenant. So 6 years after you started, you became sergeant. So that was at 28, right? And then by 30, you were a lieutenant.
Correct.
Is that all test-taking ability, or is there a lot of leadership behind that as well?
Test-taking ability.
Really?
So it's literally a test you take. The higher you score on it, the quicker you get promoted. You can take the sergeant's exam when you have 3 years on the job. That's when you're eligible to take it. And then the higher you score, you can't get promoted to sergeant until you're 5, but it's all just based on test score. So the higher you score, the faster you get promoted.
Right. And now, what was the drive to continue to rise in the ranks? Because a lot of individuals I know, specifically in law enforcement, it's almost like this level of complacency. But I also know police officers that are making, $180,000 with overtime.
Right.
You know what I mean? So is there a level of complacency that you see a lot in law enforcement that hinders people from trying to take that next step?
Absolutely. So law enforcement, once again, there's a couple of things that people care about in law enforcement, right? They care about their days off. They care about their schedule, what tour they're working. Whenever they get a really good position, it could be administrative, indoors, where you're not outside as much. It's seen as a favorable position, right? So oftentimes, if you're a police officer and you have a 9 to 5 schedule and, you're getting max overtime, all of a sudden it could be like, okay, well, if I have to study for this exam, which is extremely difficult, right? If you have a family, if you have obligations, that means you're leaving work and going to the library to study or studying while you're at work, right? For 6 months or more. And so complacency definitely settles in because once you have it good, and when I say good, that just means a favorable schedule, maybe overtime. It's seen as if I take that next step, all of a sudden your schedule goes to disarray. Because once you get promoted to sergeant, you could be working midnights, you could be working 4 to 12. You can go from that nice cushy inside position to the Bronx or Brooklyn, just being honest here. You know what I'm saying? And people don't want to do that.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say are some of the most challenging aspects of your time in the NYPD? Is there a specific maybe year, or was it in the beginning? Was it towards the end for you? What was the most challenging time?
The most challenging time? Oof, that's a great question. The most challenging time for me was definitely towards the end of my career. Yeah, when I decided to vest out, and that time period, it was the most challenging for sure.
Now, were you battling not vesting out versus staying on the job? Were you battling that? Hey, I probably should stay here, or were you trying to get out of there?
So when I applied for Harvard and then subsequently went to Kellogg, law enforcement's always been a part of my heart because my parents both retired law enforcement. It was never really 100% what I wanted to do. I always felt like there was something missing. And so once I went to Harvard, I had a professor there. His name was Stephen Rogers. He became like a mentor to me, and he talked about what someone like me could do in the private sector, right? All of a sudden, this opened up a new world. Being outside of the NYPD for a year, I wasn't at work that entire year. I had away on scholarship. Really opened my eyes to...
Oh, sorry, I just want to stop you with that. So you were in the NYPD, and they put you through these programs?
Yeah, so I was awarded the scholarship from Harvard, right?
Gotcha.
But then I was awarded a time-off scholarship from the NYPD.
That's awesome.
So I was at school up in Cambridge for the year getting paid.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, really
probably
cool.
the best year of my life.
Yeah. So what was it like balancing, I guess, the family life while you were furthering your education, right? I look at you and I'm thinking of, not snoozing on life, right? That's
Absolutely.
what this is all about.
Yep.
And you've just continually done that because a lot of people, and by that time you were already lieutenant?
Yes.
So what was the drive to just keep doing this? This is not easy, and you just challenge yourself and, really put this education up in the forefront, which is very commendable, man. I think you've seized every opportunity that's kind of come your way. So it's a beautiful thing to see, man.
No, I appreciate it. And so one of the biggest things for me, I remember in my later 20s, was that I really had a passion to keep learning, right? And so once I was promoted to sergeant and subsequently lieutenant, it was kind of like, okay, this is cool, and everybody's like, oh, you have it made. And I'm just like, I get it, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and it feels good. But I always felt like there was something missing. I'm like, there has to be more to life than just this, right? I take another exam, become a captain. I know exactly what I'll be doing. I know exactly the landscape I'll be in. I know exactly what I'll be making. It's like there's no novelty. There's no kind of what if or what's more, what else is there out there, right? And so, at the time, my wife was super supportive. We just had our son, Adonis. He was 8 months when I went away to school. And so we have a great family support system. My wife held it down while I was at school. I'd come home every other weekend to spend time, right? And she came up and we just navigated it like that. But I mean, I was as present as possible. She held down the home front and we got through it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
you speak very highly of your parents and specifically your father.
Yeah.
And I believe he passed away in 2018.
Correct.
You mind opening up about that and sharing what it was like going through such a difficult time?
Absolutely. And so 2018 is one of those landmark years for me. I got married in March of 2018, March 17th on St. Patty's Day. And that was the last trip my father could take. He had prostate cancer. It had gotten worse over the years. And then at that time, they had told us he had about 8 months, right? He wasn't even sure if he was going to make it to the wedding, but he did. And so I was super thankful for that and grateful that he was there. And then I graduated from Harvard 3 months later in May. And then I went on my honeymoon. And, well, before I went on my honeymoon, I went to Florida for 2 weeks to spend time with my father. My parents moved down to Florida once they retired. And this moment always.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those things. Take a minute. It's real, man. You know, it's definitely a sad thing, and you know, you're speaking of all the great things that happened in 2018, but you know, losing your father is one of those things that I don't think is ever going to be easy to talk about.
So my dad's birthday is on July 1st. My wife had a trip planned and we had to do something that I couldn't be there specifically on July 1st. And so we said, okay, we'll fly down to Florida July 2nd. He was in his final weeks. We knew that already. And so on his birthday, I'm packing up because July 1st, I called him, wished him a happy birthday, sang him a happy birthday. And we're packing to go to Florida. And he passed away on his birthday.
Wow.
And so we went the following morning. And I would say, once again, when thinking about it now, he was 74 years old, and it's the natural circle of life. You know, you should see your parents go. That's the natural way things should happen. But he just had such an influence on me that I know that, you know, watching him go from, you know, a physical statue like he was to then, you know, going out the frame was a very difficult time. But I'd say that's part of the resiliency, right? In order for me to recover from that was actually when I competed in a bodybuilding competition because the only way I wanted to channel that energy was in training, right? Like the sadness, the why did this have to happen? And so figured it's a bad moment, but you take every opportunity to just better yourself in some way and try to think through the good, remember the good times, remember the values, what he would have wanted, how he would have wanted me to move forward, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what I did, but it definitely just shaped my overall outlook on life in terms of, you know, pushing forward and doing the things that I have to do.
Thank you for sharing that, brother.
Of course, man.
I know it's very
difficult moments.
Very difficult, you know, and these are the types of things that like you don't know how the emotions are going to hit you in the moment. But you did a great job telling the story, and you know why you're so emotional is because of the impact that he definitely had on you. I know he's looking down on you, and he's proud of you, man. You know,
I appreciate that.
I feel that, and I truly believe that. I think it is so commendable, man, that you know even during that time you always channeled it into something positive. Like, do you ever think that about yourself? Like, you know, I know it's hard to sit back and be like, damn, I am the fucking man. But the reality is, like, a lot of people, you know, it'd be normal to almost go into that depressive state or, you know, the anxiety and letting all these negative thoughts creep in. But you just took positive action and moved in the opposite direction. It's a beautiful thing. I think about, you know, even like Sean Degnan. He just lost his father a year ago, very unexpectedly.
Shout out to Sean, brother, with you.
Yeah. But like same type of thing, right? Like literally channeled it and was like, no, like, you know, starting Ace is something that my father would have wanted me to do. Is there something that you can share that anybody who's struggling with, you know, losing somebody, grief, or just the negative thoughts, like what is it that you were able to do to still move forward regardless of what you were feeling in any day that you were waking up? I'd
say the biggest thing is your routine, right? And staying consistent, because reality is you're not always going to feel good, especially in a time where something, devastating like that happens to you and you're emotionally disoriented. But we know that when you stay consistent with your routine and you wake up, you get movement in, nothing about your situation specifically changes, but you feel better, right? You're able to think more clearly. You're able to just handle the situation with more candor, more careful thought, right? And so I think that staying in that space was extremely important for me, because it's easy to fall into like a black hole, right? It's easy to just not want to wake up. It's easy to stay in bed. It's easy to snooze, right? But reality is that where's that going to get you? And so when I always think about life, no matter what situation I'm in, it's like, how can I move forward? Like, what about the situation? Like, okay, it's a bad situation. Where's the good? What can be learned? How can I move forward? If you stay in that frame of mind, then you'll come up with solutions instead of always just letting life take you, right? People who always say life happens, life took me, life, when they use the term life with anything, that means that they didn't have a plan, they weren't intentional, they didn't take action, right? They let the circumstance dictate what was going to happen. And so for me, I think it's just about thinking about how can you move forward in a positive way and trying to stay you're going to have your moments, right? But it's getting through those moments and then getting back to the main idea of how can I move forward from this? Where's the positivity in it?
I think you've said something very profound, that it's actually easy to stay in bed. It's easy to do nothing. It's easy to be negative. And I truly believe that that's true. But that also makes you feel worse, right?
Yes.
And I believe that the only way to combat depression and anxiety is action.
Correct.
I was talking to a very good friend of mine just the other day, and we were having these, same exact conversations, and how important it is for this individual to find that routine, to be able to, even when shit is hitting the fan and you're negative, but being able to do that over and over and over again. And then I think that negativity just slowly starts to diminish. It never goes away. And that's the tricky part, because people always look for that microwavable result. Yeah. Right? And that's the funny part.
2 minutes done.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, I worked out for 2 weeks. What? You want my life to change and feel better? No, like, you're still going to be negative, but talk to me in those 2 weeks and let's see, did we improve a little bit? And I think it's such a great point, even around the holidays, for individuals who are struggling. Develop a simple routine, right? Like finding 1 or 2 things that are simple for you to do, not hard, right? Whether it's going outside and walking your dog for 20 minutes, whether it's writing a note in your phone, 3 things that you're grateful for, but begin to develop these little routines. And then before you know it, I think stacking those little habits on top of each other
absolutely
is the way to really beat the negativity of life. Would you agree with that?
100%. And so habit stacking, James Clear talks about it in Atomic Habits, right? It's one of those things where everything starts with movement. Everything starts with action, even in health and wellness, right? I tell people all the time, if you're someone who's trying to start your health and wellness routine, it starts with action. Everyone's like, oh, isn't your diet the most important part? It is, technically. But you're not just going to change your diet if nothing else in your life has changed. What has to happen first? Action. If you wake up in the morning, you go to the gym or you go for a walk, right? When you get home, what are you going to say? I just went for a walk. I'm engaging in health and wellness. I want to live an active and healthy lifestyle. Oh, what does someone who's trying to do that do? Oh, I'll have my egg whites. I'll have my protein smoothie. I'll eat my vegetables with my food, right? If you're just waking up with the rush of the day, the rat race, it's easy to grab a bacon, egg, and cheese. And then at lunchtime, talk to your friends about, man, I'm trying to get in shape. I don't understand why I'm not losing weight. If you moved, that's the catalyst. So it's the same way when you're thinking about getting over a depressing time or a difficult situation, right? It starts with movement and it starts with action. Because we could sit here and talk about things till we're blue in the face, right? But if we don't take the first step, nothing's going to change, right?
Love that. Are you looking to elevate your brand with captivating visuals and immersive sound? Look no further than the home of the No Snooze podcast, Kai Visions Productions, your go-to destination for cutting-edge audio and video production. At Kai Visions, we don't just create content, we create experiences that leave a lasting impact. From podcasts, YouTube variety shows, sleek corporate videos, to attention-grabbing promotional campaigns, our team of experts is dedicated to turning your vision into reality. Choose Kayi Visions for a production experience like no other. It's time to make your brand known. Contact us today at kayivisions@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Kayi Visions. Kayi Visions Productions, where audiovisual excellence meets innovation. Now, back to the Epi. So you launched The Journey. I love the name, man. The Journey in January 22, is that right?
Absolutely.
And that's when you left the NYPD?
No.
No?
I left the NYPD in November 2022.
Okay.
So it was running for 11 months before I left.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you decided to pursue entrepreneurship full time. Now, when you're vesting out of the NYPD, and I'm just kind of trying to understand myself because I'm in public service as well. Mm-hmm. With the amount of years that you did, you're not able to receive any financial like pension right now, right?
Right now, no. Okay. I get it at my 20th anniversary, which is November of 2028.
Right. So, you hear a typical story would be, hey, I did my 20, I collected my pension, and now I'm comfortable, and now I'm starting my journey. Right. But again, this is very, very dope of you. Like you just... What was it that allowed you to say, you know what, I'm going to go out and make the money that I need for my family? Like, you're not getting that NYPD money, but you still took the leap. That's impressive.
I didn't take the leap. I was forced to take the leap.
Explain that.
So, aside from my father passing away, I'd say that 2022 was the most challenging year ever in my life. And so I'm a lieutenant in the NYPD. I decided to compete in bodybuilding competitions, right? I have the drive, the passion, never give up attitude, always want to challenge myself. I already accomplished my 2 graduate degrees from 2 of the top 10 universities in the US. I'm like, what else is next? And of course, I want to get into the physical aspect of things and challenge myself, right? And so in doing that, I took a little too far. And so I was training for a competition in June of 2022, and I took a fat burner, clenbuterol, right? 3 weeks later, I get drug tested, right? What happens? Well, I pop on the drug test. What is that? What ensues, right? 3 weeks later, I'm in the paper, veteran NYPD lieutenant, test positive on a steroid test.
Now, hold it right there.
Ooh, I know.
Why is that necessarily a bad thing? Having brolic cops out here, right? I don't understand personally why that would be like the end all be all, like get this guy out of a department type situation. Like, I want to call a police officer and I want that dude to come like save us in the moment, right? Yeah. So like, you can't be a little pipsqueak. I want an Apollo story coming to save me. So go ahead, continue your story.
Nah, you know what? I agree. I agree with you. And we can talk about the health of law enforcement in general because it's in a very bad place. But needless to say, policies are policies, the rules are the rules, and you have to go with the guidelines that are afforded to you and in front of you. And so I know this. I'm a lieutenant. I work in policy, right? I know exactly what would happen. It's one of those moments where, if I can be as candid as possible here, right? I've accomplished a lot of things in life. I'm an extremely confident person. I looked at this moment and said, it's not going to happen to me. I'll make it through this. I'll get by. It's not a big deal, right? All of a sudden that comes down, that situation happens, and then I'm in the paper and I'm getting suspended. And then it's like, oh, wait a second. I'm not invincible. I'm not Superman. I too bleed, right? And at that moment, I would say was probably the darkest moment of my entire life because everything that I had built, my career, the trajectory, what I represented, my family, my parents, my father, it all collided in this moment. And so in August, I was in the paper. And then, of course, they were trying to fire me, right? And so if they would have fired me, I wouldn't get anything. I wouldn't get my pension. I wouldn't get health insurance, nothing. It would have just been like the 14 years that I put in was for nothing. Through the grace of God, I do know a couple of people, and the plea deal came out, and it's like, okay, you can vest out right now, keep your pension and everything you've built. Or you can go to trial. If I go to trial, they could fire me. Then I'd get nothing. Chances are I would have lost that.
Wow.
Right. So in November of 2022, I was forced to vest out. Right. So in that moment, I don't know how to put this. In that moment, things were as dark as they've ever been, right? Worse than when my father passed, right? My entire identity, right? How I'm making money, my livelihood, the person I thought I was, my public reputation, everything at that moment was, to me, not in a good place, right? And so what happens at this moment? Once again, you know my academic background, my career. I could easily have went and got a 9-to-5 job, another 9-to-5 job just to make ends meet. But what did I say to myself, right? I had started my own company in 11 months before that. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm extremely passionate about health and wellness. If there's one thing about the NYPD that I didn't like, right, it's the hierarchy, having somebody to report to all the time, the disrespect that lays in that, right? Just the system, for lack of a better word, right? And it's like, what would it be like to be my own boss? What would it look like to run my own business, do exactly what I want to do on my terms, right? I understand the fundamental aspects of entrepreneurship, what I need to do. I'm a very disciplined person, right? When you're starting your own company, you have to, people think like, oh, you work for yourself. Like you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. That's not the case at all. Right? You still need to wake up, do the things you need to do, or you'll quickly fall behind. You'll quickly lose money and you'll quickly fail, right? But with the discipline, consistency, I had some very important people in my life that, you know, supported me and gave me the wherewithal and the battery I needed to keep moving forward. And in the first year, right, I made more money than I did in the NYPD.
Wow.
Second year, the same thing. And so the thing is, this is not about money, right? Because I don't want to make this about money at all.
No.
Reality is I made a mistake, right? And learning from that mistake really humbled me. And I think that in life, you know, I'm almost 40 years old. There's this image that people have to be perfect or that you don't make mistakes, right? No one's perfect. We all make mistakes. It's about how you bounce back from those mistakes. I'm not going to let that one moment define who I am in life, where I can go, what I can do. I'm a powerful person. I know what I'm capable of. And that's the narrative that I tell myself. That's the only narrative that's true. And yeah, I mean, that's, you know, you ask the question of what made me how challenging was it to go from the NYPD to entrepreneurship? It was the most difficult moment in my entire life.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that.
Yeah,
you know,
nor do a lot of people.
Yeah, but this is why we do the podcast, man. Like, there's so much behind what you just see on social media or just meeting for, you know, we met like 3 times prior, right?
Right.
But there was something about you that I was very drawn to. You had mentioned that the workout that you led for us, you know, you had said that Sean and I were both men of action, right? You and I had said, hey, look, let's meet up, let's get a workout in, you know, before. And then one day I just hit you up, hey, man, you want to work out tomorrow?
Yeah.
But you know, I'm very aligned with all you're saying here, and I agree 100%. Like I've made many mistakes in my life. I've lost, you know, a lot of things in my life as well, but we can all bounce back. And if you bounce back and you're doing the right things, even when you don't want to be doing the right things, I think life really changes for you. And I think that higher power will definitely meet you as long as you're intentional and you find passion behind what you're doing. I do want to ask you this, though, because it's a little interesting. What challenges did you face transitioning from a structured career like the NYPD to then running your own business? And like you kind of went there for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I really want to focus in on that because that could really make or break somebody, right? Like you're so structured and regimented, and you know everything you have to do every day to then boom, okay, now you're just out on your own with really no structure. You have to build that structure, right?
Correct. Yeah. And so I'd say that building that structure was the hardest thing I've ever done. And this is the thing with in the mental state that I was in at that moment, with my, public reputation just taking a hit, and then thinking about, man, like, what would my father think about this, right? Did I disrespect him, right? I wear this cross, this angel wing on my necklace that represents him since he passed away. And, in that moment, it's like all these accolades, everything that I've done in the department, you make one mistake and all of a sudden it's like you're being persecuted, right? And so that transition, establishing a schedule for myself, thinking about the things that I had to do, creating action items, and actually sticking to that was extremely difficult because of my mental state, right? What did I want to do? I wanted to snooze. Right? I wanted to just say, wow, this was a bad dream. This didn't happen to me right now. Like, maybe I wake up and all of a sudden I was in Never Never Land and like things can go back to the way they were. It was a blessing in disguise, because reality is that I went to and undertook all the academics I did because I was thinking about transitioning from the NYPD regardless, just on my own terms, right? This way was kind of like the sink or swim. You know what I mean? And then as opposed to going out and getting a traditional 9-to-5, I said to myself, you know what? This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where, I get to show what I'm made of, what life has taught me, what my dad has instilled in me. I get to take those lessons and actually put them into practice by doing something that I want to do. I'm passionate about health and wellness. I'm passionate about, optimizing people's lives. I'm passionate about people feeling confident and able that they can accomplish things, right? That's what I love doing. And that's the purpose I have in this world right now. And I love it. And so the hardest part, to get back to your question, was structuring, okay, what does my business look like? What do I need to do on a daily basis to be successful? How am I marketing this? What exactly is my business plan? Because when I just had a couple of clients when I was in the NYPD, it's just used as side money. And all of a sudden you could be a little bit more wishy-washy. I don't have to get to things right away, things like that, right? Versus like, wait a second, no, this is how I'm going to pay for my mortgage. This is how my kids are going to eat now, right? This is how, the food is being put on the table. When you think about it from that lens, sink or swimming, it's like, I'm just keeping it real here. I'm never going to sink. Never going to sink. Impossible. It's not in my DNA, right? You might knock me down for a second, which is what happened. But come on. It's like, I have too much riding on this now.
Right.
If it was just me, maybe, right? When I look at my kids, I'm like, come on, these kids, nothing about their life changed. They're going to hear the story when they grow up, and they're going to be like, damn, Dad, you did what? I'm going to be like, yeah. Maya was 2 months old when I had to vest out.
Wow.
I'm like, damn, Maya, when you were born, Daddy was going through a hard time.
Yeah,
She's like, well, really, Dad? Because I wouldn't,
I
she's
didn't
still,
know.
exactly. Nothing about their lives changed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the way I'm going to keep it. Their lives are only going to get better. And I'm going to see to that, because there's a purpose in this world that's bigger than me. And once you align with that purpose, all of a sudden, the thought about waking up is not about, do I want to wake up? My kids need me to wake up. Do I want to? It doesn't matter what you want to do, right? What do you need to do to be successful? And if people thought about life like that, a lot more people would make progress on the goals that they're trying to accomplish.
I agree 100%. Talk to me a little bit about the journey and what it is. I know, is it a personal training business? You train clients in person, and you also have an online business as well, right? Is there more to it, or?
Yeah, so the journey is not personal training. Okay. It's more about health optimization. And so I do have a few people that I train in person for certain reasons, but the program is predominantly online. And what we do is we optimize your health and wellness from where you're at. So if you need a home workout routine, I'll create that customized. If you're going to a gym, we'll create a custom workout for you there. Then, of course, we dive into the nutrition. We see what you're currently eating, and then we try to take baby steps to make sure that you're getting in the right amount of protein. You're staying away from foods that are inflammatory, right? And so this part is the part that's going to affect change in your body, right? Training, eating clean. We know that's how you're going to get healthier. The biggest aspect of it is the coaching aspect, though, right? And this is the part that people struggle with, because once again, habit change is the most powerful thing you could do in health and wellness. How do you create that habit change, right? You have to have conversations about it. You have to talk to people who are similar minded. You have to, once again, consume information related to it, right? The more you can do that, the more you'll think about, okay, I should be doing this, versus if you're hanging out with people that want to go to the bar all the time, if you're hanging out with people that want to go to brunch, if, your family only cooks, shit, for lack of a better word, right? And so coaching people through what they have to do for the other 22 hours when they're outside of the gym is the most difficult part, because everyone's like, oh, but I work out and I went running and I did this. I'm like, yeah, but your life isn't optimized for you to get results, because you're still not sleeping. You're still eating bad. You can't control the weekends, right? And so that's what the journey is. The journey is optimizing your health and wellness to accomplish the goals that you want. And we do that with different strategies depending on where you're at. And that's why the program is so custom and why people can accomplish their goals. I have mothers that are accomplishing their goals at home because they have a Peloton and they have a few weights. But guess what? They're taking action. They're doing the work and they're eating clean, and they engage in the conversations that need to happen for them to make progress. Everyone thinks you need like a state-of-the-art gym and, to do muscle ups and all these fancy things. It's like, no, if you just move, you start moving, we're going to get where you need to go, where you need to be.
I love that. Let's talk personal life a little bit and your family. So you've been married to Larissa. For 6 years.
6 years.
And have 3 young children.
Yes.
Right? How do you now balance your entrepreneurial endeavors with the family life? Right? Because I look at like the career in NYPD, and I don't know if it's easier or it's harder, because the entrepreneurial world could be just as difficult.
Correct.
With the time frame that you're working and you're kind of always running around. How have you been able to balance that?
Yeah, so I say Larissa and I are very efficient with scheduling, right? She is a person of action as well. She is in the gym 5 days a week.
Yeah, she's shredded.
Yeah, she's all about her health and wellness. And so when you have 2 people that are aligned on health and wellness, it becomes much easier because we know what our priorities are, right? Once again, and I know you love this word, which is alignment. When people are misaligned in their relationship in terms of what they want, that causes all sorts of problems, right? Larissa's never asking me, if I have to wake up early and go to the gym, why? Or if there's some sort of competing priorities. Like, no, we make a schedule at the beginning of the week. She lets me know when she's going to go to the gym. Sometimes we'll go together. She has mornings, she can work from home sometimes, or she has to go into the office. But if it's her morning that she wants to go to the gym, she'll be like, all right, Tuesday and Thursday, I'm going to the gym in the morning, which means I got the kids, right? Because my schedule is more flexible and I'm going to be in the gym regardless that day, right? I work my schedule out around hers because I'm going to work out 5 times no matter what. Hers is more important. Also, too, let's just be realistic here. The mother takes on the blunt of the work when it comes to the children. Everybody tries to sugarcoat it. You could be the daddest dad in the world. Moms still do more, if we're being honest, right? And so in knowing that, by me pouring into her cup and allowing her to engage in health and wellness, feel great about herself, look amazing, feel amazing, right? She's a better mother. She's happier. She's more pleasant. I prefer her to stay that way. Right. She's Dominican. I don't need any pots being thrown.
Yeah. How grateful are you for her and all the sacrifices that she's made, throughout your relationship, and obviously the discussion that we've been having today? She obviously played a pivotal role in holding the house down. So what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on it is I'm forever grateful. I look back at my career and a lot that I've accomplished. Reality is I wouldn't have been able to do it if she wasn't by my side, right? From going to Harvard, we had Adonis, right? Of course, once again, I was there every other weekend for a day or two, but she took on the blunt of that first year, our first child, which is, for a woman, that's extremely difficult time. And then even when I went to Kellogg, I started in 2019, but Maverick was born 4 months into the program. And once again, I was flying back and forth to Evanston, Illinois every other weekend, having to do group projects and just a lot of schoolwork. And then being at work in general, I'm out of the house for 14 hours a day. The support I got on her end was, it's not quantifiable. It's a blessing.
Yeah. And you can feel people's energy, and, being around both of you guys definitely have that alignment.
Yeah.
You guys are both just you're just uppers to be around. You know, your energy is uplifting. So it's a beautiful thing to see, and I really love that. Looking ahead, where do you see, I guess, the journey in 2025 and in the next 5 years?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question because I've been thinking about that, especially as the new year's rolling around. And so I have a team now that I work with, right? I want to build out my team, be able to have a little bit more reach, right? I think any business is always, you know, the objective is to scale.
Mm-hmm.
But things that excite me more, right? Scaling is cool. I feel like you need to have other goals besides scaling because when you're always just focused on growth, it's like, okay, like we know, but what else is there? What's the end goal? Because once you get to that end goal, like I've realized this in life already, like you think when you get to that end goal, it's like, oh, I've made it. And the answer is no. Mm-hmm. It's not. It's never the case, right? I remember before I went to Harvard, let's be realistic here, right? When I tell people I went to Harvard, it's like, oh, you went to Harvard? You know what I'm saying? Applying for Harvard, taking the GRE, before I went, I was like, oh my God, if I had a degree from Harvard, like I would be one of the smartest people in the world. And like people would view me as, you know, all these things. You get a degree, you graduate, and it's like, okay, now what? Now what does this do for me? Like, what happens now? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's the same way in business. Like, okay, you reach a certain level, you can pay all your bills, you can go on vacations, you can do this, okay, but now what, right? So I think that what I'm really searching for and thinking about in 2025 are things that are self-fulfilling, things that give me a purpose and things that I'm passionate about so I can put that energy into it, right? Mm-hmm. For example, we're having this podcast right now. I want to start The Journey podcast where I talk all things health and wellness and health optimization because having conversations around that, right, is enjoyable for me. Mm-hmm. I'm passionate about it. And when people hear that message, hopefully they can take one or two things away and get started on their journey or optimize their journey, right? So that's one of the biggest things. I think a podcast is one of the things that I'm focused on for 2025 that I'm excited about that's going to be self-fulfilling.
Yeah, no, I think that would be great for business.
Yeah.
I think it would, be great for your passion and purpose, but also, when you find things like that are ticking both the passion side of things and can also help you in business, it's like a win-win.
Yeah.
And podcasting, man, like, we've been doing it a long time now. We're on year 5, and it's still, I believe, in its infancy, right? You have billions of accounts on TikTok.
Yeah.
You have millions and millions on Instagram. But in terms of the podcast game, man, like, there's a couple million podcasts out there. Mm-hmm. So when you're really looking at the scope of things, and I think being able to, build the community that you already have, this will open so many different people up to what it is that the journey is about and what Apollo is about. And I think you have so much to offer. And, I will say that I think you have a great podcasting voice, too.
No, I appreciate it, man. You're going to be on my podcast as well.
There you go.
We're going to talk all things health and wellness.
Let's lock it in. So, yeah,
we're going to see who benches more also.
Yeah, man. I saw you doing the 5x5 at 315. I get that pretty easily, okay. But I would guess that you would have a stronger, like, 1 rep max. That would be my, like, guess.
I'm probably around 405 right now.
405. Yeah, see, I don't really touch that.
I don't touch it either, but I'm saying if I had to guess, the thing is right. Powerlifting as you get older is not the smartest thing.
Right.
So I kind of just like to keep it to the, 5 reps is like the lowest I'll go. Maybe I'll increase the weight to get to 5 reps, but going lower than that is kind of ego lifting.
Yeah. I have a video, I think it was 2022, and I did 315 for 12, and that was my best, which was pretty impressive for me. You know what I mean?
That's super impressive.
It was good. It was definitely good. I mean, there was some banging, the momentum was there, but hey, I got it off my chest up in the air. But yeah, I'm really not. It's interesting you say that because I used to chase those numbers, whereas now I want to be like well-rounded. Like my mobility is so important to me. I do a 9-minute mobility warm-up every day. I couldn't touch my toes when I was lifting like that. I couldn't even. I put my socks on like I'm 350 pounds. It was ridiculous. Now I actually pride myself on being able to lift my foot and put my socks on, and that's just from flexibility. And over the years, man, it's crazy what it makes you think that if you're not active, like I was so active, but I wasn't mobile, right? Like I wasn't really focusing on the mobility, and I quickly lost so much mobility from coming out of college till now, and then just started focusing on it a year ago, and I've gotten so much better with the mobility. But I kind of am a mix between like a power lifter and a hybrid athlete, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense, and honestly, that's the direction you should be heading, right? I know you're a couple years younger than me, but when you think about longevity moving forward, right? It's like, for you, yes, benching 315 12 times, awesome, right? Does anybody know that?
No.
If you bench 315 5 times, would it make a difference in terms of your like actual physique?
Right.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
I think that once again, training for mobility is extremely important as we get older, right? Because those faculties leave us. And then also too, body composition, right? Let's be honest, you're a good looking guy. You know, you were in DR 2 weeks ago. It's nice to be able to take off your shirt, have lines, have abs, right? As you get older, I mean, for people to have abs now, 35 plus is like a anomaly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so when you think about like what health and wellness is, it's like having a body fat percentage that you're athletic, which is like 10 to 12%. You know what I mean? Having well-defined muscles, being able to like support your own body weight, being flexible. So I think like when you think about these things, it's not just so much about, oh, I can deadlift 605 or whatever the case. Like that doesn't mean anything anymore. We're not in college playing football. You know what I mean? It's more about life, strength. And let's be realistic too, man. When you have a well put together stature, it speaks about you, right? The fact that you're in shape, you're a professional, you have a daughter, you're a parent, you're a father, you're able to stay disciplined to wake up, to get your workouts in, right? It speaks a lot to the person you are and just what you're about. You know, before you even open your mouth, people already can assume the kind of person you are in terms of discipline, in terms of consistency, in terms of what you care about, right? And that says a lot. I think that's important nowadays.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I do want to pick your brain on something. This is a little selfish of me because it's very specific to me.
Yeah.
But so what's your thought on doing cardio prior to actually weight training? So I've been hitting this assault bike for like 16 minutes a day. And I'm really getting up there. I'm like zone 4 in it.
Yeah.
You know, my heart rate is up.
Anaerobic.
And I'm burning the best I got. And I would challenge you to see if you can beat this, but I don't think you can. It'd be more impressive to me if you...
Probably not.
It'd be more impressive for you to do this than the bench.
Yeah.
I got 13 minutes, 300 calories on the assault bike. So I was just gunning it, right? And I do that pretty much either every day or every other day. But then I work out after. My lifts are not nearly as long because, you know, I'm pretty gassed. What's your take on that, though? And, like, should I be, like, splitting this stuff up in terms of, like, overall health and wellness? Or do you think just being consistent with one style of, you know, with this style is kind of okay? Because let's be honest, I do think that I look okay, and I'm happy with the way that I look. But there are times that I'm like, am I doing the right thing or not?
Yeah, so I would say, and this is the answer nobody likes, it depends.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And so everything should be done in phases, right? People always want to build muscle and burn fat. It's not optimal to do them at the same time. You're either in a strength building phase, a muscle building phase, hypertrophy, or you're in a conditioning phase, which is burning body fat. What happens when you do like the assault bike for 13 minutes and you're gassing yourself like that at the beginning of your workout, you're burning through all your glycogen, your blood sugar, which is the energy your body wants to use to lift weights. Right? You do that at the beginning, it's good for performance. It's great for your heart rate, right? It's great cardio in terms of like working your heart. Cardiovascular, right? And it's amazing for that because you want your heart to function optimally. But when it comes to building muscle, right? Well, now you've depleted yourself to go into a strength training session where you're not going to be as strong or able to perform as well. Right? So I'd say if your objective is like conditioning, right? And performance, then that's a great way to approach it. If your objective is to build muscle tissue, right, then that would be counterproductive to your goals. Right. You'd want to do your cardio after the workout. And so I'd say, once again, it's not, is it bad or good? It's just, what phase are you in right this second? Because I do both. I'm either in a bulking phase, that's why bulking, cutting, right? It's the same concept. Either you're in a muscle building phase or you're in a fat loss phase. And so it just depends on which one you're in, what you should be doing.
Right. Yeah, and I don't really know, like, what I should, you know, what phase I'm in or what I'm doing. But I definitely, so a typical routine for me looks like, you know, the cardio first now. Well, I do mobility, then the cardio, and then I'm doing push-ups, pull-ups, and sit-ups every day. I do 5 sets of nickels and dimes, 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 sit-ups. And then I do like 3 exercises per like body part.
Right.
You know
so I would
mean?
say, I'm just going on a limb here. I know you care about the way you look, right? So change it up to this, right? Do your mobility work. Do your strength first. Do the pull-ups. What else do you do?
Pull-ups, push-ups, and sit-ups.
Pull-ups, push-ups, and sit-ups. Hit your exercises, 3 exercises, and do your cardio at the end of the workout. You'll notice that once you're at the end of your workout, you'll be in the this is the phase of energy your body uses. These are the phases of energy your body uses when you go through a workout. So first is your carbs for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Next is your protein. Then you go to fat. By the time you get through this to the cardio, you'll be using fat as energy. So you'll actually be using fat as energy during your cardio session, which is beneficial for your body composition. It'll reduce your waistline, your skin will get thinner, right? All those good things, which you want.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Try it out.
I will. But there's something I think for me that like I feel by doing the cardio, it's almost like a warm up.
Yeah.
Versus me like getting in, doing the mobility stretch and then getting on the pull-up bar. Like I feel those aches and pains. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't feel them as much if I do the cardio first, but I'm definitely gassed. I can feel it.
Yeah. So I would say you have to do a dynamic warm-up. You definitely want to warm up. And so once again, it's cold now. It's the wintertime. So when you go into the gym, you should have on like a hoodie, sweatpants, you know what I'm saying? So your body can warm up quicker. At most, you want to do a 10-minute dynamic warm-up. What is that? You can walk on the treadmill on an incline for 10 minutes. You can get on the Stairmaster. You can get on the spin bike. But work up a sweat. All right, once your body temperature is elevated, then jump into the pull-ups, the sit-ups,
Gotcha.
things like that, and then go into the strength training. But yeah, if you go from cold to trying to, lift the weights, no, you're not going to be able to perform. Like, your body's not warmed up.
This episode is brought to you by Whitaker Garage Doors, your one-stop shop for all things garage doors. Proudly based in Peekskill, New York. Your home is a direct reflection of your personal style. And let's face it, your garage doors are the first thing people see when they pull up your driveway. Whether you're looking for the timeless charm of a classic carriage house door or the clean, sleek look of a basic wood finish, Whitaker Garage Doors offers traditional options for every taste and budget. I can personally vouch for their incredible service. When I had my own garage doors done, I was blown away by their timeliness, professionalism, and overall respect for their clients. Jonathan, Cassara, and their entire team are top-notch, and they really go the extra mile to ensure you're happy with the final result. So if you're in the market for a new garage door or need some repairs, give them a call or find them on Instagram at Whitaker_doors. Don't forget to tell them you're a friend of Dave's over at the No Snooze podcast. Whitaker Doors. You won't regret it. Now, back to the epi. All right. As someone who's been in both public service and entrepreneurship, what advice would you give to others looking to transition careers or take on like more of a, I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like now more than ever, people are in limbo of what they should be doing in life. And a lot of us are working jobs that like, you go in and you punch the clock. And it's great because there's that level of comfortability and all that. What advice would you give to somebody who's like struggling between should they stay in the career or should they kind of jump into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, listen, I'll be honest, man. The that safety net of public service, where it's just like I just have to go to work and punch a clock and everything is fine. Like that's has a high value. You know what I mean? But I would say this, right? If you're unfulfilled in your career, we're not getting any younger. You know what I mean? And so for people trying to transition, the biggest thing you have to do is just create a plan. If you create a plan and you're knowledgeable that you know how to execute that plan, you know what you'll be doing, you've, weighed the pros and cons, I'd say that no matter what, you're never going to be 100%, right? Because there is a fear factor of what if this fails? That's what entrepreneurship is. That's what starting your own business is, right? Like there is a percentage or a chance that you could fail, right? But I'd say that, what's the other side of that, right? You not fulfilled, just living a job, going to punch the clock, and then, okay, like this is what I did. I punched the clock and I did X, Y, and Z, but you still have dreams and passions and things you want to do. And so in my head, it's just like, which one is more valuable? At the end of the day, once again, I'm not telling you to take a leap of faith if you have no plan, right? Like the plan needs to be well thought out. It needs to be strategic. You need to be capable. You need to be disciplined. You need to be consistent. If you don't have those qualities, don't do it. Stay in that job that gives you that safety, right? But if you have the drive, if you're self-motivated, if you're someone, discipline is the biggest word because without, Mike Tyson said this, without discipline, you are nothing. Literally. If you can't wake up, if you can't do the things you need to do on a daily basis, then stay in that safety net. If you can, I'd argue that the upside of pursuing your dreams, of doing that thing that's going to be self-fulfilling, right? Because work is work, and there's negative aspects to any work that you do, right? But I think life, once you get to a certain point, is about self-fulfillment. Like, am I doing something that fills my cup? Like, on a daily basis, when I talk to people and they receive the message, a lot of stuff is annoying about it. But when they receive the message, or when somebody actually puts into play a strategy that we came up with and they're getting results, man, I love that. That's nothing makes me feel better than people that are getting results from things that we talk about. And so that's my biggest piece of advice. Have a strategy, have a plan. If you have the values of discipline, that's the main one. And consistency, I'd say take that leap, because once again, a life unfulfilled is what kind of life? I don't know.
I agree with all that, my brother.
You know?
You train a couple individuals, one specifically I'm looking at, and I see Styles P.
Yes.
With you all the time.
Absolutely. Sir David Styles.
Yeah. What's it like training with him? And how'd you guys get connected?
Yeah, that's a great question.
He's one of my favorite rappers of all time. So.
No, for sure. And that's a great question. So
I mean, Jadakiss is a little better, but So shout out to Locks.
He resides in Upper Westchester.
Yeah.
And he goes to Lifetime in Chappaqua, right? And so the thing is, I'll be honest with you, because I told my wife this story, right? So of course I know the Locks. I've listened to their music when I was growing up. I didn't specifically know what he looked like, right? And so the funny story is that he came up to me in the gym and he was like, "Oh, are you Apollo?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Oh, you're a nutritionist and you have a program, right?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh yeah, one of the guys was telling me about you." He's like, "I'm interested. I'm trying to get in shape, And I said, "Okay." I said, "Yeah." He's like, "I can't talk about that in Lifetime because Lifetime has their own." So I'm like, "Listen, I'll get your number. We'll get on a call." And he's like, "Yeah, okay." I was like, 4:00 good? He's like, "Yeah, all right." So we're on a call. Still don't know who he is, right? And then I'm like, okay, getting a little background information. I'm like, "Oh, what do you do?" He's like, "Oh, I'm a rapper." It's like, in my head, I'm like, "Fucking kind of rapper are you?" You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm not joking. This is a true story.
Yeah.
I'm like, "What kind of rap?" In my head, I'm thinking that. I'm like, "Okay, you rap." I'm like, "Okay." So then, we go through the whole conversation. He tells me everything. And then I tell him the price of the program, right? And I use Stripe, right? A major payment method. You could use any major credit card. He's like, "I'm just going to sell you the money, the whole thing for the 4 months." I was like, "Okay, cool." I was like, listen, it's all whatever you want to do. And so then, of course, we get off the phone. He zells me. So now I have his full name, right? Because it comes up on the account. And then, of course, he told me he raps. So I had to Google him, right? I'm like, if he raps, I got to know something, And then when I saw that it was like Styles P, oh my God, I felt like such a dumbass. I'm not going to lie. I called my wife. I was like, "Yo, you're not going to believe this." I was like, "I got a story to tell you, And then, of course, I reached out to him and I was like, "Bro, I didn't even know that." He's like, "Bro, he's the most humble, down-to-earth person you'll ever meet now." He's a genuine dude. It's been awesome working with him. His values now, he's extremely big on health and wellness. He owns
the juice bars, right?
Juices for Life. And he's all about his health and wellness now. And so that's the story, man. But it's been great working with him. And his 50th birthday was last week. And I got to go to his birthday party. And a lot of, once again, the rappers that I listened to when I was a kid were there. And it was just an awesome experience.
Very cool. That probably worked in your favor, though, to be honest, because if you were like, "Oh my God, Styles P, oh my God," you'd probably been like, "Damn, I don't want to work with this dude."
No, it's true. It's true.
The fact that you didn't really know who he was,
I
think that probably even solidified it. But no, that's dope, man. So like we said, the holidays are a tough time for people, and people are always looking to get better, and whether we already know the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. But the next best time is tomorrow. But for those people, and I was just having this conversation with Sean on the last episode, for those individuals who are really gearing up for, a new year, new me, I am all about encouraging those individuals. So whether you need the extra 3 weeks to get your mind right, or you can start tomorrow, or when this podcast drops and you're listening to it on the treadmill, in the car, and you want to make the changes, what would you tell the individual that's just striving for more in 2025, and how would you encourage them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so I, too, am a proponent of just encouraging people at any given point. Reality is that the new year is a great time to set new goals, attack new challenges, and be successful, right? Even us. I'm thinking about the new year and thinking about what it is I want to accomplish, right? Because it marks a new beginning. It marks a new year. And that says something. It's the same way every birthday hits you. Like, what am I going to accomplish this year? And so the biggest piece of advice I have for people is to just start with small chunks. a lot of these New Year's resolutions are extremely ambitious and they fail, right? Even in the health and wellness industry, they've done random surveys and it's reported that like up to 80% of people fail their New Year's resolution goals, health and wellness goals, by like February, by mid-February.
Right.
Why is that? 80%, that's almost everybody. You know what I mean? And it's because they're trying to take on too much at once, right? Change happens slowly and over time. That's why consistency is the biggest factor in it. And so I'd say to set goals that are small and actionable that you can quantify. Like, okay, I'll use health and wellness as an example, right? It's like, okay, if you don't work out now and you're saying, you know what, I need to start moving. Something needs to change. Start with 2 days a week, 3 days a week at most, right? Check the box for a couple of weeks. 3 days a week, I mean, you're still resting for more than half the week, but you're working out 3 days, and that's something that you can be proud of. And you say, well, I got my 3 workouts in last week. I did my push, pull, and legs. I'm on something. You know what I mean? Once you get that down, then you can move on to 4 days a week. Then you can add in some cardio. You can build on that. But the key isn't to say, okay, I'm not working out. Let me go work out with somebody who's like me, right? And train 5 days a week and just make this 180 shift change because the new year is going to mark when I'm just going to magically wake up and be like, hey, I'm going to wake up every day at 5 a.m. It doesn't happen like that. Right? Most people, like you said, can't even wake up. Start with that. Start with trying to wake up early everyone talks about, I'm not a morning person, because this one kills me.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not a morning person. Like, what time do you go to sleep? Midnight, 1 a.m. What are you doing at midnight? What is an adult?
50th dream by then.
That's what I'm trying to say. Well, what are you doing at midnight that's productive? I tell people all the time, like after 10 p.m., right? Unless you're having sex, being honest, there's nothing productive you're doing after 10 p.m. There's only like maybe 5% of people that actually get into their best, zone at night. And there are people like that. And if that's your zone and you can manage your life around being in that zone because you're getting some productive work done, then cool. Most people, adults, busy professionals, parents specifically, are not optimal past 10 p.m. Go to sleep. Starts with a night routine. If you go to bed by 10 p.m., 10:30, you can wake up at 5. If you're going to bed at 1 a.m., of course you can't wake up at 5. Right. So being a morning person starts with optimizing your night routine. And once again, this is something you need to focus on. So what would you do? Okay, I want to be a morning person. Well, start by optimizing your night routine 3 times per week. Just 3. And of course, during the week, because the weekend doesn't count. When I say that, I mean like you don't have work.
Right.
So I would say that. Start with goals that are actionable and small that you can quantify.
I love it. I've been saying this for the past couple of years too, but I just want to say it again. A lot of people get frustrated by all the newcomers in the gym around this time. And instead, I like to challenge that and go up to somebody and encourage that person and say, hey, man, I hope to see you here next week. Welcome to the gym. Right? Like, the world is already such a negative, nasty place. So what if there's 20 new people in the gym when you get there? The reality is, 10 of them to 15 of them are going to drop off. But why not put yourself out there and be a source of encouragement and positivity for people? So if you are debating joining the gym and you haven't joined the gym, do it. And then on the other side of things, if you are already in the gym, go up to somebody and say hello. I think it's a small thing that around the holiday season is important and could change the life of somebody. Somebody now might want to come to the gym just to say hello to you now because they don't want to let you down and they don't even know you.
Yeah.
Right?
100%. And I would say this too, right? I think that a lot of the aspect of socializing in the gym has changed in 2024 and 2025, right? So when you think about cultivating a life that is active and healthy, right? Who do you want to socialize with? Well, you probably want to socialize with people in the gym.
Right.
Everyone's like, oh, no, the old school way. I'm going to the gym to get it in and stay tunnel focused on my vision and put my headphones on and not talk to anyone, right? When you're training, if you're in the middle of a training session, I get that, right? But the gym is a place to socialize because you can meet new people whose values align with yours, who you can form a community with. You can support each other. Okay, I'll meet you in the gym for a workout. Let's go to Pilates together. Let's do a spin class together, right? All this, people's social circles are highly toxic and negative because it's like, okay, when you're chilling with your friends or your family members, it's like, let's go to brunch. Let's go out to the bar. Let's go do something that's, once again, objectively speaking, not healthy for you, right? If you align with people in the gym who you might not know, if you're someone who's not on this journey right now, right? Where would you meet those people? In the gym, right? So I'd say also to that point of like not alienating new people, also be receptive to normal conversations, respectable conversations, right? I know that this whole people hitting on people in the gym and whatnot, right? But reality is a lot of people meet in the gym. It's a great place to meet your significant other. Right? Mm-hmm. If I was still single, right, where would I want to meet somebody? Probably in the gym.
Probably the gym, right?
You know what I'm saying? Like at a bar, it's like, no, I'd rather somebody whose values I know. If you're at the gym at 6 a.m., you're somebody that right. Our values align. You know what I'm trying to say?
It's a good point.
So I'd say that as well.
Yeah, very good point. All right, man, as we wrap up, I want to give you the opportunity to let everybody know the best way to connect and find Apollo Twin Story.
Absolutely. Twin. I like that one. We're going to rock with that one for a little bit.
But I'm not Danny DeVito, bro. I am not Danny DeVito. I'm not good with that. I can't be.
I'm going to get on Photoshop right after this episode. The best way to reach me on Instagram, right? The Story of Apollo. I would say that. That's pretty much my main platform.
What a great name.
The Story of Apollo.
The Story of
Easy
Apollo.
to remember, Yeah. And that's basically it, brother.
Good. What'd you think of this, man?
It was an awesome conversation, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't sure if I was going to open up about certain things, but, a lot of times we hold on to things that we think are so negative, and I'll keep it real. I felt like I was hiding a little bit, right? Like a lot of people know about it. A lot of people don't. And I feel like on this new path in my career, it's just been something that's been weighing on me. You know what I mean? And once again, people will use it negatively. Some people will think it's a sign of, empowerment.
Most people won't care.
Most people won't care. And in my head, to me, it's just like, my life is so much more than, everyone has a past and you learn from your past, right? But it's about what you've learned, what you've developed, how you're going to move forward. It's the way I always see things. And so, opening up about my story and just like, letting people in and sharing it has been, I feel good about it. I feel empowered, and, hopefully it moves the needle forward in some direction, but it's been an awesome experience.
Definitely, man. I think you're going to impact a lot of people with this episode, and I look forward to some more podcasts and me jumping on your show in 2025. Extremely grateful for you, brother.
Absolutely.
I had a very high level of respect for you, and I respect you even more. So I don't want you to think that, by telling the stories that you did by any means, for me, it only solidified the man that you are, and that you're able to, own your stuff and take it on the chin. For me, I think that's one of the most important things in life. People who are accountable.
Yeah.
I think people who play the blame game, that doesn't really sit well with me. I really don't have any time for that.
No, for sure.
But
the victim role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not a good thing or a bad thing. I just personally don't really surround myself with it. So when I see that, I kind of, just fall back a little bit. But you're the exact opposite of that, man. And, I just want to let you know that I look up to you as a man, a father, businessman. I appreciate everything that you stand for. And I believe there's a lot of alignment, between us.
No, for sure, man. Like I said, the first time I met you, I could tell that you and Sean are about action. I'm a man of action. I like to be surrounded with people who say they're going to do something and do it. Literally, we talked about, getting a workout in. You hit me up. We got the workout in. Talked about setting something up. We did a workout together for, ACE. And once again, talked about the podcast. We're on the podcast. It's like, when you speak things into existence, it's like, if you're not a man of your word, what are you? Right. And so it all starts with action, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. And shout out to Sean for the initial connection. He's the one that brought you into ACE. Should have said that earlier in the episode. I usually do that. But I got tied up with your physical stature.
I appreciate it, man.
Twin. Guys, so that's all we got for today. Very grateful for you tuning in. We want to wish you and your families an incredible holiday season. And again, we just want to say thank you. Continue to share the show, whether you've listened to 1 or 201 with Apollo Twin Story. We're extremely grateful for you. As always, you can shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. And until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
My man, Danny fucking DeVito, bro.
Thanks for having me.
That's crazy. Davey DeVito.
Thank you guys for tuning in. That's another epi in the books. You can follow us on Instagram at No Snooze Podcast and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze. Shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. Come on.